Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of the Unnamed Racing Podcast. Hopefully, this one releases before the week of racing we're talking about is over. A quick thank you to everybody for the support on the first episode. Not, hasn't been out that long, but still already got a couple messages and everything, so I really appreciate it. We are back this week talking about the trucks and Cup Series at Kansas. Gonna touch on some WEC and IMSA stuff, and then move into our normal iRacing discussion for the week. Blair, do you want to lead us off here?
Yeah, so we started the weekend a lot less racing this weekend compared to last. We had Trucks and Cup at Kansas. Xfinity is off for a couple weeks. Um, Truck race, there was uh there was some interesting bits to the truck race through and through from start to finish. Um, First thing I want to mention is Dawson Sutton penalty for intentionally bringing out the caution was an
Yeah,
interesting one. I don't know how
I don't know. Looking back at it, there's definitely been more egregious kind of examples of people bringing out a yellow. I don't think he was trying to bring out the yellow. Like he was coming down to pit road, and it seemed like he just kind of lost it coming onto pit road. NASCAR obviously didn't see it that way, so he ended up with the 2-lap penalty. I haven't seen that penalty handed out though in quite some time.
I
Um,
thought he not cut a tire?
he did cut a tire. He cut a tire and he was trying to
Yeah,
whip it
you can
back to
see it
pit
right
road.
there. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just looking at the clip now, because the rear fender on the driver's side was also folded in, and
yeah,
I think that yeah, I don't understand NASCAR's officiating a lot of the time in any case of whether it's bringing out yellows or penalizing or, well, not penalizing, but that one, it's a tough one. Like, we see guys spin out trying to come to pit road. Not in that position, but it's not as uncommon as like, it happens, especially with a cut tire when you're trying to get off that banking and get down to pit road. It's not an easy task to do with it while you keeping the car under you. I don't personally see where NASCAR was coming at to say that was intentional. I understand the caution, like, guy spinning out into pit road, you have to throw the yellow, but, to say that he did that intentionally, maybe there was something on the radio we didn't hear, but nowadays it's pretty easy to hear everything on the radio, and I didn't hear anything that was saying, "Just put it around, we need a caution." But you just have a lot of teams, you just have to take that cut tire, take your lap, and work what you can out of the race. I don't think there was intention to bring out the caution, but clearly NASCAR saw it differently, and that was definitely an interesting one.
yeah. I NASCAR saw it differently than everybody else. Maybe there was radio that just no one has seen. Um,
I will give him props. Brought it back with a 15th place finish.
100%. That's a really good run for those Rackley guys. 100%. That's what I was going to lead into. What a recovery drive from him after having that penalty. Like they had it early, so I get like they got lucky with it. But still, what a drive from him to come all the way back through the field. He was running in the top 10 at some points. Definitely surprised a lot of people that he was able to come from the back doing that. And I'm sure he had damage and stuff too from
Well,
that
you can
tire
see
going down.
his
He
fender was folded in, and you can pull it out, you can put some tape on there and everything, but it's not going to be a perfect truck that you start the race with, no matter what damage. When you patch it up, it's not going to be the same perfect truck you want.
No, no, absolutely not. Especially those steel bodies. They're not like the composite bodies that the cup cars have. Once they, bend them in, it doesn't just bend out all like the easiest way. I know Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch were talking about that on Actions Detrimental this week about steel body cars compared to composite body cars. So, really impressive drive from him. Obviously, that penalty didn't affect him too much, so everyone's probably just going to move on from it, not question it, which is definitely the best case scenario for NASCAR. Um,
Yes.
followed up by another call odd officiating call from NASCAR in the truck race with Tanner Gray limping around out of fuel, having a mechanical issue, and no yellow for a car doing like 10 miles an hour on the apron. NASCAR just kind of closed their eyes and went, "Yeah, I don't see a thing." We got Stevie Wonder up there in the officiating box this week. Not really 100% sure what that one was about either, but
It definitely wasn't NASCAR's best truck series race officiating wise, but I like to give them the, I don't want to say benefit of the doubt, but I think that's what it is to they have driver safety in mind, and clearly they felt that Gray was out of the way. But in today's NASCAR, everything's so unpredictable, and especially the truck series, someone bounce off the wall, gets hooked, everything, any car that is off the pace and substantially off the pace as Tanner Gray was, it's a risk for both Tanner Gray and anyone that might get into an incident and take a very hard hit where a very hard hit is not needed to be taken. Oh,
yeah,
and it can
100%.
ruin someone's day. Like it, you know what I mean? You're spinning and you can control it and keep it off the wall, and oh, there's a roadblock in the way because NASCAR didn't throw the caution, and now you've ended your day, possibly hurt yourself. Tanner Gray's team's spending a lot more money now, so yeah, definitely very inconsistent and not helping their own case.
NASCAR seemed like they really didn't want to throw yellows this week. Between penalizing Dawson Sutton, Tanner Gray not being a yellow, Hocevar having a tire go down in the Cup race not being a yellow, just NASCAR just did not want another yellow flag. I'm not really sure why. We haven't seen that often from them. Most of the time, NASCAR will go, "Oh, look, we got a chance for a caution with 5 to go. Let's put the yellow out." Not this week. They really wanted the boys to have at it, and the boys had at it for sure in the truck race. Um,
That last lap of the truck race, or last two laps even, Hocevar had a pretty good handle on the race, and Layne Riggs was able to make a hell of a drive back to the front. And I think saying he challenged Hocevar for the win is an understatement. He tried to put Hocevar into the fence, put them both into the fence. Um, and Hocevar made it clear how he felt about that move coming to the checkered flag in very Carson Hocevar style. Is this going to become a weekly occurrence of us talking about something Hocevar did in his driving style? It seems like it might.
I hope so, man. I love it. I think it's awesome. Tell him that he's number one, like the whole cool down lap down the whole front straightaway. You just love to see it.
And,
People say that they
well,
don't
coming to
like,
the checkered flag, he was telling me he was number one, just in a little bit of a different way.
yeah, like everyone does not like Carson Hocevar for some reason. Like the people that don't like Hocevar, I don't understand. Everyone goes, "Oh, the drivers don't have personality. The drivers don't have personality," and then Hocevar shows all this personality between all like the Twitch streaming and stuff like this, and just being himself. And people are like, "I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy." Well, then don't bitch and complain when drivers don't show personality, because this is why they just get flack for it. He seems to not care. He seems to play into it a little bit, which I like. I think that's the best. I think that's the best option for him, realistically. Um, and the people that love it, love it. The people that hate it, hate it. I'm completely okay if for every week the rest of this year we talk about Carson Hocevar doing Carson Hocevar things. I'm completely okay with that. Some
And I
people
like
might not be, but I am.
and I like the point you bring up of emotion and character, and you get so many guys that it's just every interview seems dry. It's the same interview day in, day out. Had a really fast car, thanks to the team, thanks to the sponsors, hate it for the guys, or, team was great today, car was great today, we had a really good day. It's so repetitive, and I get that. you can't go there's a script you have to follow to please your sponsors and to please everyone, but to show a little bit of emotion like that in a race. And it's not the first time we see guys make a dirty move or a aggressive move, I should say, towards the finish of a race to try to get the win. And nowadays it doesn't get brought out as much. Where this is how I felt. It may be a conversation after, but for Hocevar to throw the bird out the window and throw the one out the window for the whole cool down lap to show him how he feels, and to, like I say, bring some emotion into it and say, I beat you, shove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always good, especially like in the truck series, where he can win races. I don't think he'd do anything like that in a cup race. Actually, he probably would, but it was really not. It was like, and even at the end of the race, there was no beef. They weren't beefing like in press conferences. They weren't beefing when they got interviewed. Like um, shout out to Riggs for like he knew what he did, right? He owned up. He owned it. He didn't try and say like this like Hocevar deserved it, nothing like that. He just said two guys going for it, which I respect a lot. Obviously, he got disqualified, so maybe it's a good thing that he didn't win the race, but he still took it like a champ. They both did. They both seemed to be laughing about it after the fact. So I gotta give credit to him for going for it for sure. Um, Also gotta, like every truck race, shout out Corey Heim for being there as well throughout the whole race, and then getting that penalty, the restart violation when he followed Tony Breidinger up a lane. NASCAR penalized him for that, and he still ended up in somewhere in the top 10, I believe. Not
Third.
100% sure exactly where. Oh, he ended up third. Well, that
Yeah.
proves my point even more. Sorry, I thought Byron finished third. I guess I missed that too.
Well, with Byron up to second with Riggs DQ, because Riggs was second, right?
Yeah. Oh, so he ended up finishing third after the TQ.
They,
Okay.
yeah, they put Riggs dead last.
Still though, for having it, I think it was an EOL penalty. He to drive up to fourth still is unbelievably impressive from him.
I did get a
Um,
kick out of listening to his radio when he got the penalty. It sounded like every league race ever where someone's got a penalty like that. I was just following the car in front of me. What was I supposed to do? It was such an iRacing penalty of like trying to defend it. Well, there's nothing I can do. Well,
Stay
you
in
let
line.
her you let her stand out like a sore thumb and just follow the rules. Stay where you are until you cross that line.
I'm gonna throw shade and say that if I see Tony Breidinger doing something, odds are I'm gonna want to do probably the exact opposite. To be honest with you, so I don't know what he was thinking there. Maybe I didn't watch the onboard. I didn't see exactly what went down, but still, good drive from him, and definitely not the last time that we're going to be talking about Corey Heim having an impressive run on
And I
this
will
podcast.
say, things like Corey Haim this week and Dawson Sutton too, you can see what happens when you keep a cool head. Like you see Sutton gets back up to 15th, Haim gets back up to third. When you don't have a cool head, you're Connor Mozak at 18th, crashing out screaming in the car.
I am so disappointed that we can't find the video of it. I wish that we had access to like the truck race broadcasts in Canada because like heard him just I didn't even know what he screamed. I think he was just like screaming and I can't find the clip or anything. If someone can find the clip, please send it to me. Be like the funniest thing ever. Like it just cuts to his car and all you hear is him like just screaming. I was like, "Oh, he's upset. I hope he's okay." So,
That was shades of Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch back in the day.
yeah,
Um, speaking
100%.
speaking of Kyle Busch, we'll turn our attention over to the Cup race at Kansas on Sunday. Well, actually, let's start off still talking about the trucks. Corey Hyman Cup race thoroughly impressed me. Um, I think it was what his third. second.
I think it's his third Cup start. First of the year. First of this year for sure. I think it's his third Cup
I
start
think he
ever.
had to fill in for someone. I might be wrong, but I think he
I
filled in
don't
for
know.
someone at some point. But regardless, 13th place finish in a very difficult race. A lot of strategy and managing your tires in that race. Um,
What do you
I
mean?
like. I
Twitter
think
Twitter
was
told me this race sucked.
I
Twitter said this
enjoyed it.
race was awful. I don't know what
I
you're talking
enjoyed
about.
it. Well, yeah, social media and everyone says it's terrible. I
God.
think this also showing what I think you touched on last week is that the truck is preparing guys so much better for Cup than the Xfinity car is. And we're seeing the most dominant truck driver this year and such a good truck driver bringing it to the Cup car. And I like seeing this on mile and a halves, like Kansas, like Vegas, when guys are doing this, not on, a super speedway or a road course where you have the specialist or the amount of luck that comes into it. And don't get me wrong, those take a lot of skill still, super speedways and all that. But being able to do it on a mile half, you're showing that, I can drive the car on my own. I don't have to sit in the draft and I'm not a road course merchant.
Yeah, he puts it out there that there's no like there's no room for interpretation. Like Corey Haim's a real deal. And this result at Kansas proves it. He was running the best out of the 3 2311 cars. And that's I know Bubba got wrecked. So that take that with a grain of salt, but still he outran Reddick. He outran Herbst, which doesn't overly surprise me. I think it really overly surprises anybody. Um, Especially with Herbst coming from the Xfinity car. I don't think Herbst actually ever ran in the truck. I think he just ended up in Xfinity. And I think that's a perfect example right there. Like Riley Herbst is by no means a bad race car driver. Again, contrary to what people online say, um, respectable career in Xfinity, especially the last couple of years once he understood the car and got the car under him and stuff like that. And I have no doubt that he will be the same in the Cup Series once he has a year or two under his belt. He'll be up front, with the rest of the 2311 drivers.
I do worry though with how cutthroat the Cup Series is and with how many guys are on the rise. And this 2311 camp is they're keep making sure they have backup plans to their backup plans. So I do worry for Herbst if it's not in 2 seasons. Are they just gonna say, "Well, we've got the next guy to replace you"? Like, sorry,
I
buddy, you didn't prove yourself fast enough.
I somewhat agree with you, but I know Denny has gone on the public record and said that he wants to give these guys time to develop. He doesn't want to have them for a year and then toss them because he knows that it's not the same. He knows the Xfinity car does not drive like the Cup car. It takes them a while to adjust. But at the same
Which
time, like the results show, you have to have results. This isn't you, oh, you tried your best. Here's your seat. You gotta have the results to back it up. 2311 should be a race winning team. They are a race winning team. And if you're not winning races or at least, contending for races, then you're going to lose your seat, unfortunately.
yeah, I think NASCAR there's a little more leniency than a lot of other motorsports with the amount of time they give you to progress and to prove yourself and to figure things out. Um, that's why I think the 2 years at least is what you need because then you've given him a year. You've seen every track, a year to learn, make adjustments, both to the car, to himself, to his driving style, to what he needs to do. Um, and the other thing is that this team is so new and so young that they have time to develop. I think everyone's expecting like results now, 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 now. Um, and I don't think they're that far off of it, but um, I definitely think there is some time still that he has to work with. It may not be as much as he'd like or fans would like, but He's definitely got to figure it out.
The problem with Riley Herbst is he's just going to be compared to Corey Heim forever, right?
Unfortunately,
That's I wouldn't say unfortunately. That's a pretty good comparison. You have your two young drivers, right? Those are your like that's what it is. That's who your competition is. Your competition is always the people in the same team as you. It's the same in F1. It's the same here. Your teammates are like a comparison of where you should be. And if Heim consistently comes in the car and outperforms Herbst, well, then a conversation needs to be had eventually about which driver is the better driver.
that's fair. Yeah. Um, what else did we have this weekend? RFK had a big weekend for them. A seventh and
Yeah.
an eighth place finish. Brad Keselowski continues to have the no good, very bad season from hell that just everything has gone wrong that can go wrong for him. That office seat is just looking better and better for him. Um,
Especially considering the charter dispute between Rick Ware and Legacy right now. I think
yes.
that unironically, I think that is the plan. Was Brad was going to retire and Priest was going to take over the six. I don't know if it would stay the six, but like the six's charter, and that third charter would go back to Rick Ware. But but Brad was there, right? He wasn't. It's not like he was running 30th and got wrecked. He
Oh
was
no.
he was about to fight for the lead. He was getting up there, and it was just bad luck with that tire going down. I know Brad's result does not show it, but if I was RFK after all the noise and the really poor results to start the season, this was a really good recovery weekend for them. And it's got to be a big confidence booster for that team as well to know that they're not washed. Like that team is still very much a competitive organization through and through. I know Priest has been doing a really, really good job in the 60. It's good to see him show what he can do once he has actual good equipment.
Yeah,
But
and like I said earlier, it's not that Brad's doing things wrong. They're
no,
there. They've been there. It's just one thing here, one thing there, and it either wipes them out of the race or puts them laps down that they can't get back. It's really just been an unfortunate season so far for him. I say that we're only what a quarter of the way, about a third of the way into the season.
yep.
Plenty of time for Brad to pick it up, but he needs to do it now.
I think the problem I see with Brad is they're in a hole so deep they have to win. And that's
Yep.
a totally reasonable thing that they can do. I'm not saying that they can't win, but at the same time, it would be nice for them to know that they could point their way in. I don't think we're going to have as many winners as we usually do this year. There wasn't any rule changes in the offseason, so the good teams got better and the mid-pack teams stayed in the mid-pack with maybe the exception of Spire. Spire got a pretty hefty boost there. Um, but I think Brad has to win. And I think he knows that, which, when you know that points don't matter and you can just go out there and only worry about winning the race, you're kind of playing with house money. You can make, bolder calls, bolder decisions, riskier strategies. So we could get, a really interesting race out of Brad at some point with them trying to win their way into the playoffs, which I'm looking forward to because I think it's something that team is 100% capable of. And this week at Kansas really, really showed it.
And I think if you're RFK, what you have to look for in Brad for the rest of the season is just consistent, decent finishes with a win or two here and there is really what you have to be looking for. Like you say, you're not. I'm never say never, but it's the odds are very stacked against Brad to points his way in. Um, but yeah, like I think confidence wise, you just need to see some consistent, decent finishes from him. Um, some top tens, some top fives, even top 15s. I think at this point you take
Yep.
because Well, really, what else have you haven't had any you haven't had a top 10, you haven't had a top 5. They don't have any wins, and you've DNF 5 times. You just need to start putting together consistency, and that's for points and just as a confidence boost to start trying to regain faith in yourself that, you know, I can make a run here if I get my spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's all it's gonna take, right? Is one win and they're in. That's the good part about winning you're in is once you win, you don't have to worry about anything else. You just need a good run. We've seen Joey Logano do it like last year, where you could have the worst year ever, but if you win that race and you're in the playoffs and you get hot at the right time, who knows how far you'll go.
Yep.
So, but speaking of
Um,
getting hot, I think it would be criminal not to mention AJ Allmendinger's engine getting too hot and AJ Allmendinger getting too hot. And what has got to be like one of the biggest crash outs I have seen probably this year. Just wow.
and
I
that's saying something considering the season Kyle Busch has had as well.
Yeah, I have not seen a driver call out like one of the engine builders like that before. That was pretty bad. I'm sure Richard Childress is not going to be very happy. I'm sure that the Monday morning meeting today was a very fun place to be, and surely everybody was civil and no one got in trouble. Um, but yeah, he like I know AJ gets emotional and a little more mad than some people, but that was almost too far. You know,
We'll say passionate. How's that
yeah,
sound?
it was a pretty passionate way of saying that you guys don't know how to build an engine. You guys suck. Like,
It's gonna
it's not
be
like all
hilarious if his shocker. Oh no, something was loose. AJ, your engine just blew at Charlotte. I don't know what happened.
I don't know how could this happen. It really does suck for him though. He got in that Colleague car this year, and Colleague's been doing a really good job. Like they've been having a sneakily good season. Ty Dillon's been running well. AJ was on the cut line of the playoffs before this engine issue. I'm not 100% sure where he ended up. I
He
know that.
lost 6 spots in the standings this week. Fell from
Oh,
20 or 19th to 25th.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Not
That's
what he
brutal.
needed.
That is bad. Still a long season though, right? And
Well,
we've
like I
seen
said,
it.
we're only a third of the way in.
Well, and we've seen AJ win in these cars, right? Especially at road courses. Plate races, anything could happen. So he's definitely. I'm not counting him out just yet. Maybe one really bad, one more like DNF or something, and they will probably be out of contention for it. But I definitely understand why he was upset with how close they were to the cut line and everything. And for it to end up like that was definitely disappointing for the one AJ Allmendinger fan in the world. Shout out Eric, the only AJ Allmendinger fan I've ever seen in my life. Um,
Um, Another driver with, I don't know if you call it bad luck or just getting caught up in crap. Well, I'm gonna call it 2 of them. Denny Hamlin, another brutal weekend.
oh,
Loses 4 spots in the championship. Another DNF. No DNFs coming into Texas, and now we're on back-to-back DNFs. Um, I saw the onboard of that when it happened. You just hear the clutch fall out of it as soon as you can already tell he has nothing, and then they tried to push him off pit road, and you can just hear, thump, thump, and now you just knew his race was over from there.
I think what happened was I was under the impression that they lost the clutch at the start of the race. And what really screwed them over was those like cautions, like back to back to back, and all the cautions being bunched up together.
Ah,
I think that's what really put the wear on that clutch because the clutch, like, you don't need a clutch to, drive these cars, as dumb as that sounds. You just need it to take off and start and stuff like that. So when he went to come out of the pit stall, I think the clutch just completely probably disintegrated and broke the transaxle. I think is what he said. Since
That's what he was thinking.
these cars don't technically have transmissions, they have transaxles. And what he said once he took it off the box, it just clunked, and that was the end of that. So definitely unfortunate for the 11 team. I'm not worried. Well, he has a win, so I'm really not worried. I don't think anyone's worried. No one in that team is hitting the panic button. I know he said on the radio they knew they weren't going to make it to the end, and he said, "Well, if we're not going to make it to the end, let's show them how fast this car is before we get taken out." And they went out and showed that. He was having a good day, still competitive. Definitely nothing for the 11 team to hang their heads about. Uh, Still lots of time left in the season for them to go out and win plenty more races, which I'm sure they will.
Oh, 100%. Another driver, bad weekend. A lot of bad weekends. After this, we'll talk about a good one. Kyle Busch. Another crash out. Not full crash out, but something. Um,
He,
I haven't listened to the actions detrimental. Sounds like it was an interesting one. Um, he voiced his opinions as he always does. Um, like the crash, he got caught up. He just got caught up in other people's battles, and they decided that he didn't exist in that battle. Um, I'm just looking. Yeah, he wasn't happy with anyone after that one. And
can't
especially
blame him.
a bad crash like that, not much you can do. He's in a really tight spot to the playoff bubble too. He's just trying to string some good finishes together. And a week like this really hurts what you have going and what you're trying to get something going.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of got caught in a bad spot. The thing that made that worse, from my understanding, was he got stuck in the grass.
Yeah,
The
that
car
was
wasn't damaged. He just
no,
got tapped in with the composite
incredible.
bodies and everything.
The save was incredible to keep it off the wall. And now my memory's getting jogged here. He got it straightened out and then he tried to keep it going, and when he kept it going, he put it in the grass.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, he still an incredible save to keep it off the wall. Like I said, if he doesn't get stuck in the grass there, he probably ends up pretty okay. But I think he ended up losing a lot being stuck in the grass and having to get them to push it out and everything and stuff like that. That's what really screwed him over. Just bad luck. There's so much bad luck this week at Kansas. Even I know we were giving Hocevar his dues in the truck race, and even he suffered, another flat tire this weekend. We saw a lot of them in practice. A lot of teams made changes to the car. I think it was like 6 cars went to the back for adjustments because everyone was starting to worry about the left side tires. Goodyear brought new left sides to Kansas this weekend to try and promote, more tire wear, more tire fall off, and stuff like that. And sometimes it works a little too well, and you have tire blowouts. That's what happened with Brad. That was what ultimately took Brad out. It almost took Hocevar out, but just an incredible job by him to keep it off. I think he still ended up in the fence, but it wasn't anything major. The bad luck continues for him in the Cup Series as well. Just so much stuff out of his control. Um,
I have one last thing on that Kyle Busch incident.
yeah,
I was
yep,
just reading quotes from Actions Detrimental here with Denny Hamlin. He said he downshifted into second to get the car to slow, and he tried as it ramped over the grass, and he was trying to get the motor to turn back over, and he stalled it in the grass. So that's why he couldn't roll through the grass and just keep it going. It stalled out in the grass.
that makes sense. I kind of wondered that too. I kind of wondered what happened because usually you're able to kind of wiggle yourself out of the grass and stuff like that. And I didn't know if he had a tire down and he was like stuck on the skid blocks. Um,
But no, yeah. So
I
that
guess he
was
stalled it.
I just saw that and figured I'll bring that up. I guess we should probably touch on the winner of the race.
Yeah,
Kyle
Larson.
Larson drives away with the race. I'm sorry, he's impressive. Don't get me wrong. He is an incredible driver to watch. But can he win a more exciting race this year? Every race he's won this year is just dominance.
Hey man, that's the way it's gonna be. That's what like people don't understand. This is the way racing is. F1 has it, NASCAR had it in the 2000s. Not every race is gonna be, a like photo
Texas.
finish. Yeah, not every like it's not going to be like Kansas last year, and I think people don't understand that, which is going to bring me to, probably my weekly rant. This is going to become a thing about everyone complaining on Twitter about this race sucked, this, that, the other. Just stop. People, not every race is going to be a photo finish where everyone's sliding each other on the last lap and calamity breaks out and there's 20 car wreck. That is not what makes a race exciting. And not every single well, that is what makes a race exciting, but not every race is going to be like that. That's the way the sport is. That's the way the sport has always been. And the same people that complain about, well, why do we have stage cautions to bunch the field back up, are the same people that complain about this. Like, what do these people want? Do we want every race to be 5 green, white checkers and like 20 car pileups? And like, it's just not natural. This is the way the sport is. Like I said earlier, there were no rule changes over the offseason. So the parity that came with the next gen car is kind of plateauing. The 4 car teams are going to be better. Hendrick and Joe Gibbs are going to be better than all these other teams because they have that extra car to work off the data. It's just the way that it's going to be. People, please stop complaining on Twitter because who knows what NASCAR is going to do that ruins this even more and takes more purity out of the racing that we've already lost so much of. Just enjoy the dominance. As a Kyle Larson fan, just enjoy the dominance. Just
Okay.
lose
Okay.
lose with grace.
Okay.
You don't have to say the whole sport sucks because Larson won. I'm sorry. That's not the case.
And it was a very good start to a very, very busy month for Larson. Well, actually, I guess his month started flipping in a sprint car. Um,
That
that
was
was
brutal.
something. That
That
was,
was yeah. I
and
saw the clip of
then
that. That was pretty
that was
violent
some
actually. I was a little
violent, especially
surprised.
for Brad Sweet too.
Yeah, he
Um,
he got tagged pretty good. That was the end of that.
yeah, and then he goes out, he dominates here. Um, he was at Kokomo tonight, racing sprint cars. Had a top 10 finish. I'm not exactly sure where he finished. Very aggressive racetrack, that was for sure. I just finished watching that race, and that was very bumpy dirt track. That was for sure one of the best finishes I've seen in a while too. Um, if you haven't seen that clip, Gavin, you have to see the clip of the end of the high limit race tonight.
I will definitely look into it once we're done the podcast, but for now I'm gonna have to go with I don't
Um,
know.
but Kyle Larson's month, so it started off pretty decent for him already, and I believe he goes to Indy tomorrow for practice.
Yeah, I think practice starts tomorrow. Then I think they've just basically got practice all week. And then qualifying on Sunday, they have been saying that if Larson makes the Fast Six, he will not be qualifying in the Fast Six. He will come back to run the All Star race. Whether that is a him decision or a NASCAR decision remains to be seen. Not 100% sure how that works with qualifying and stuff like that. I assume that if he makes the fast 6 and doesn't qualify, he'll still start 6th.
I
He made it
know
he
that
made it last year, so I 100% think it's reasonable that he does it again this year.
I know that if he makes the fast 6, they can't have someone else drive the fast 6 for him.
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
they make the fast 6, Kanan can't get in the car and do the fast 6 because then when Larson gets back in the car, they're sent to the rear for a driver change.
Yeah, so it makes more sense for them to just start 6th and
If that's how it works.
whatever,
Someone can
if
let
that's
us
how
know
it
if we're
works.
wrong, or
Yeah.
I know social media, this whole month is just going to be Kyle Larson talking about it on racing social medias, so we will find out sometime. Someone will say something about it. Personally, kind of surprised he's deciding All-Star over Fast 6.
I think that was a NASCAR choice. I don't think NASCAR was, from my understanding, not happy with the way that Indy went down and everything last year. I can't
Yeah,
say
well,
I really blame them.
no one was happy with how Charlotte went down last year.
Well, that I think that was honestly the saving grace. I think if Charlotte doesn't get rained out and turn into the mess that it did, that there's a serious discussion about Larson being excluded from the playoffs. But I think NASCAR saw the controversy that came from calling that race early when, as a witness at the racetrack, when they called the race, it was done. Like, we went back to our hotel thinking, oh, there's no way they get this race restarted. We get in the hotel, dry off. I look out the window. I'm like, guys, it's not raining. And Bob Pockers puts on Twitter that they're looking to get going again. We get back in the car. We turn around the block, and NASCAR calls a race for humidity that wasn't even there. So that was Larson's saving grace last year. I am 95% sure that NASCAR has said to Hendrick and said to Larson that he will not get another waiver if he chooses to stay in Indy for the Indy 500. You know, praying that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but that was already known going into it this year. They
Yeah,
publicly said NASCAR is the focus.
yep. But to be fair, that was also said last year, and look where that ended up.
Last year, I think we can chalk last year up to an audit or a rarity, a one-off.
Yeah, but I'm looking
Um,
forward to it. We'll be in Charlotte for
so
that. So
yes, hoping. You know what? I'm not even gonna talk about it because I don't
no,
want to jinx it.
don't even bring it up.
Um, speaking of Indy, we had iRacing fixed Indy last week. I wasn't able to participate due to some stuff I had to do in the real world. Gavin, I know you had a attempt at it on Saturday morning. How'd that go for you?
Well, I said last week that the iRacing Indy 500 haunts me in my dreams, and we had another Indy 500 where defeat was snatched from the jaws of victory, and led late, ended up making the wrong pit strategy, ended up at the front on fuel mileage. Everyone's saving, we could make it. We were in prime position. We had a yellow fall our way, and the conversation was had of do we pit for tires, and it was like, no, I don't think it'll matter. The one guy that pit for tires drove through the whole field, and that was the end of that. I ended up
Where did you actually end up finishing?
I think I ended up finishing 7th. I led I led the last 180 to 195. I led 15 laps. um it just didn't work. Just wasn't there. Ended up kind of, once I got back in the dirty air, I couldn't get to the dials quick enough to put it back into dirty air, like have the wing, or not the wing, sorry, have the weight jacker and have the front and rear ARB set correctly, and just ended up in the fence. Was also overdriving it a little bit trying to get up there. It just wasn't an optimal finish. Um,
And as panic sets in,
yeah,
trying to fiddle with all these dials.
panic set in, and that was the end of that. But I led laps again. I think I've led laps almost every single one I've done. They knew we were there. I started 27th. Definitely not an optimal qualifying position, but still to come from 27th and finish 7th, I'm content with that result at the end of the day.
For sure. Um, we've got Open Indy this week. I might
Got
take
the
a swing at. I might not. I
got
doubt
the
I will.
secret hack for Indy 500 qualifying.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
rev
Up,
it
up,
this
down,
high.
down, left, right, left, right. You know,
Yeah, that's how Indy qualifying is nowadays.
I just can't.
Um,
I got the PDF today and I was looking at it. I'm like, where am I? Like, what are we doing here? So,
but the problem is it's a coded simulator, and people will always find something that they can do that may not be realistic. I know people that have done it at Daytona for series that you can run multiple qualifying laps. It's People are always going to try to find loopholes.
which I
And
view that's normal racing though too. Like, I'm sure if
oh,
there's
for
a way
sure.
to, people will do the same thing in real racing. It's just on iRacing, it's just like different. Instead of putting whatever in the tires, you're doing this to the car. You sit in pit road and rev your engine for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Um I know you had an ignite race tonight. Um I can sum up how this one went so we don't have to listen to you rant for 10 minutes. Um the bus stop at Watkins Glen happened.
Bang ting ow. It's a pretty
Yes, and
accurate
we're going to leave it
description.
at that so we don't end up here for 2 hours on a rant of braking too early. iRacers, don't brake too early,
There's a
especially on road courses.
public service announcement. If the brake marker is at 600, the 600 board, and there's no cars near you, do not brake 300 feet before the brake marker because you will get hit and
All
you
I'm
will blame
saying is the
somebody
first
else.
time you came in yelling about it, it was 100 feet, and then you explained it again, and it was 200 feet, and now we've hit 300 feet.
Well,
I'm starting to think this guy was in the boot when he hit you, or when you hit him.
I hit him. I hit him. Yeah, he might have been in the boot. I sent him to the boot. I won't lie. That dude was out of the race. He gone. Never to be seen again. I parked it after 5 laps too. I was done, but just the way
um,
the cookie crumbled tonight wasn't our day here, but gonna
when
move on.
tomorrow we have the Great Lakes Series at Richmond. Never an easy track. Um, Definitely a nemesis track for me. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I personally don't have high expectations, but try to get laps in, trying to finish the race, um, gain as many points as I can. I say this, I thought the same thing going into Rockingham in the Xfinity car, and I turned out to have my best ever finish in Great Lakes. So who knows? Maybe I'll discover something in the race. That is, if you want to catch the Great Lakes Truck Series race tomorrow on YouTube and Twitch at Split Second Racing.
Broadcasting. Split
Splits
second broadcasting.
Broadcasting. Split Second
I
Broadcasting.
I will say though that the odds of this being released before tomorrow are slim to none. So if
Well,
you want to watch the replay,
you
I
can
would go to
still
split
find
second
it on Split Second
broadcasting.
Broadcasting.
Really hoping to have this out on Wednesday. Um,
So
that's
you
my
can
goal.
find out what happened in the race
Yeah, find out what.
Wednesday when this comes out at Split Second Broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
think on that cue, that is all we have for a quieter week in the world of racing.
we will be off next week.
Unfortunately, we
We're
will
starting
be
this
in.
podcast off with a banger. We're gonna
Yes,
release the first episode a week late, release this one on time, and then take a week off.
we will be
Um,
in Charlotte for the Coke 600 and all of the events that week, and we will have a very interesting episode when we get back and give you a live opinion of the races.
we're also not going to talk about IndyCar and WEC and IMSA.
Nope.
Um,
We'll talk about Indy
we'll talk.
and how
Well,
Monaco sucks.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Um,
And on that
I,
cue, I think
we'll
that is all for tonight.
call it an episode.
And thank you for listening. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter at the Unnamed Racing Podcast, and everybody have a spectacular day.